as I did this month too.
Is the sign, the letters, the name of the,
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, all of you brave souls, for voyaging out on this night of inclement weather. My name is Charlotte Nickelmo, and I'm president of the League of Women Voters of Collier County. And we are the organizer for this forum. There are many other organizations working on this forum and the ongoing series of coming forums. Collier Citizens Council, Greater Naples Chamber of Commerce, Greater Naples Leadership, Collier County President's Council, Greater Naples Better Government Committee, Naples Press Club, Pelican Bay Property Owners Association, East Naples Civic Association, Golden Gate Civic Association, and Golden Gate Estates Civic Association. You will see the list of sponsors in the upcoming forums in your programs. Would you please stand and join me in pledging allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are extremely delighted to welcome you to this candidate forum for City Council candidates for the election March 15th, 2016. We thank you for your interest and your attendance. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that neither supports nor opposes any candidate or political party. Our mission is to encourage informed and active participation in government. We thank each of the candidates for your willingness to represent the residents of Naples. And if you haven't done so already, would you please turn off your cell phones? We're very fortunate this evening to have Jeff Lytle, retired editor of the editorial section of the Naples Daily News, for our moderator.
Thank you. The 6 candidates seated before you are running for the 3 open seats on Naples City Council. They are seated alphabetically from the left. They are Reg Buxton, Terry Hutchison, Michelle McLeod, James Moon, Wynn Phillips, and Ellen Siegel. Let's give them all a large round of applause. Candidates have been informed that the first question will be to give their backgrounds and inform us of their goals and reasons for running. Answers will be up to 2 minutes apiece. Then we'll begin rounds of questions that have been gathered from the organizing and supporting organizations and from the audience on index cards. Candidates will have 1 minute to respond to each of these. If a candidate wants to rebut or get some extra time, that can be allotted at the discretion of the moderator, but please, time is tight, and we really want to not go there. For the mayoral forum the other night, that was different, but for all 6 candidates, let's try not to go there. But if you're compelled, get my attention first. I'll be the traffic cop. So, and that being said, let's go to our first candidate, Reg Buxton. Please tell us a little bit about your background and why you're running for this position.
Good evening, I'm Reg Buxton. I wish to thank the League of Women Voters for having this forum, but more importantly, I wish to thank the voters for coming out in this liquid sunshine we have here tonight. I'm a 25-year resident of Greater Naples, spent the last 4 years in the city. You probably know me either from my charity work or my service on nonprofit boards or as the owner, publisher of Life in Naples magazine. I'm known for my leadership skills. I'm also known for the ability to take people with differing opinions and bring them together so that they will galvanize and go forward on the subject. My wife Sandra Lee is here. I have a daughter, 2 granddaughters. I have a son, 2 grandsons. With children, speaking of children, I think we need to be sure in this city that our children get the best programs to use and the best education possibly that they can get. And the second thing, in the next few years, working with the county is going to become more and more important as we go forward. Naples will always be the signature city of Collier County, but we're going to have to work closer with the county as we move forward. I have developed over the years extensive relationships with all levels of county government, and if needed, I will use those for the benefit of the city. I'm in the public service part of my life. I love this city dearly. I can hardly wait to serve it. Thank you.
Terry Hutchison, please.
Well, thank you to the League of Women Voters and the other organizations for making this forum possible. I recognize several of you as customers at the 2 7-Eleven stores that I own here in Naples, one on 3rd Street South, the other one over at Central and 41, the Exxon Mobil. My team and I serve thousands of guests every week. I talk to the majority of them about issues impacting their lives. These folks reflect every demographic in our city, every race, and every income bracket. They've asked me to enter this race, ensure they have equal representation, and make a difference on the city council. I live in the Lake Park neighborhood. My wife Sherry and I have been married 29 years and have 2 grown children, Courtney and Cody. I was fortunate to be adopted at the age of 5 and was raised in Oklahoma. I was the son of a preacher, and I married a beautiful preacher's daughter as well. My work career has included that as a drilling fluids engineer in the oil fields of Oklahoma. After a crash in the industry, I started as a job as a graveyard shift employee at Quick Trip Corporation, a premier convenience store chain in the United States. That's where I learned my craft. I moved up in the company and ultimately joined the management team at 7-Eleven. My career at 7-Eleven included full operations responsibility for over 100 stores, several hundred million in assets and revenues, and over 1,000 employees. I had responsibility to develop a budget and make sure it was met. I surrounded myself with the right people. I was very successful, and I was recognized as a top performer in the United States. I've served as a publicly elected official, a school board member, a board member of a national organization. I support Gulfview Middle School by contributing to their music program. If you could hear what thousands of our residents are saying, the message would be clear. They want divisiveness to end. They want easily accessible and equal representation, a safe community, and limited government that works. My 3 priorities, ensure this.
Time, please.
We'll get to it later.
Very good. Now, we'd like to hear from Michelle McLeod, please.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Michelle McLeod. Just to tell you a little bit about me, I am a 3rd-generation Floridian. I was raised in Fort Myers. After graduating from Fort Myers High School, I attended St. Mary's College in South Bend, Indiana, where I received my bachelor's degree. After college, I started a career in the hotel industry, a career I enjoyed for over 25 years. My last job in the industry was that as the director of sales for the Naples Beach Hotel and Golf Club. And it was around that time that I wanted to continue my education, so off I went to graduate school, and I obtained my master's in business administration with a concentration in finance from FGCU. I am now a vice president of a large family-controlled bank here in the city of Naples. I am also a proud graduate of Leadership Collier, and most recently, I received an endorsement from the Collier County Republicans, not only for my conservative values and principles, but also because they felt that I was well-versed in community matters as it related to both the private and the public sectors. For over 20 years, I've lived and worked in the city of Naples, where I have stayed actively involved in the community. Most notably, I served as the executive director of the Park Shore Association for about 5 years. Now I serve as the chair for the Community Services Advisory Board. With so much vested in this community, I have a strong desire to be a part of the decisions that will affect the city of Naples as it moves into the future. On a more personal note, many of you may see me on early mornings, late evenings, on the weekends. I'm usually out there running, cycling, or open water swimming in the Gulf of Mexico. I occasionally compete in triathlons, and I very much enjoy being outdoors and staying active.
Time, thank
Oh,
you.
I one.
Time.
Okay.
James Moon, please.
Thank you for coming out with us today. I do appreciate it, especially in light of the weather. I am truly a product of the American dream, a lot of hard work and a lot of sacrifice. My father was a plant worker up north. My mother was a homemaker. And I did become the first generation in our family to graduate from college. After college, I started out my bachelor's degree, went on to get a master's degree in political leadership, and went on to get a law degree. And then after my law degree, I went on to get a master's in law in taxation and finance. To help pay for school along the way, because I wasn't someone born of privilege, I did go into the service. I became an infantryman and further honed some leadership skills. After school, I came down here, became a prosecutor, a state prosecutor, and I stood by my record of the prosecutions and how I was tough on the criminals in our area. I then left and went into private practice, and I started out in a room that was literally a broom closet by myself with no secretary, and through a lot of hard work and sweat and rolling up sleeves, helped build up in November that became the largest minority and female-owned law firm in the country with over 400 members. I, along the way, thankfully met a wonderful woman, my wife Doris, who is a city resident for 35 years, a product of Naples High School. Our own daughter, Caitlin, is a product of Lake Park, Gulf Shore, and Naples High as well. And someday I'm hopeful that she'll be able to have kids there as well. I've served 9 years on the code board as the chairman of the code board, and my public record is out there on how I vote there as well. I want to bring back a feeling of sense of community to this town. I want to preserve what we have, and I want to serve as a voice for the people. It seems lately we have a city that's run by the powerful, and I want to get rid of that. I want the people to have a voice, to have respect, and to be heard finally. And so I thank you for your support.
Thank you. Next speaker, Wynn Phillips.
Hello. I'd like to thank you, Joyce Fletcher, the citizens, the city itself, and staff. I think we have 3 great candidates for mayor and 6 for city council. To me, you may agree, it's a win-win situation. My name is Wynn Phillips. I live 2 blocks from City Hall in Coast Guard housing. I consider myself Naples. I have owned in Naples 10+ years and lived year-round 5+. I'm a single father with 2 children, 1 in heaven. I am a middle-class citizen from the Midwest, and so I bring those values with me. One of the things that will guide me on city council is that I believe in fundamental fairness. I'm not beholden to any group to any persons. I'm just beholden to myself and what I think is the right thing to do. By way of background, I grew up in rural Richfield, Ohio, near Cleveland. I was a patrol leader with the Boy Scouts and became an Eagle Scout. I earned the Scout God and Country Service Award. Besides, I was class president, captain, and point guard of the basketball team, as well as captain and quarterback of the football team.
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
The long-standing of my college, Ohio Wesleyan, is described in one word: service. I graduated from Revere High School. I went to the Peace Corps. I was at Kent State University for my MA PhD program in school in clinical psychology. I had the University of Connecticut Hayes Fulbright grant to study in Western Africa, and I graduated from Case Western Reserve University Law School. And once again, I want to thank you for being here on this somewhat rainy evening.
Thank you. Next, Ellen Siegel, please.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to introduce myself to you. For almost 2 years now, I have been meeting with engaged citizens throughout Naples and receiving very positive feedback about the principles that I want to bring to City Council. First, the importance of being independent. Second, the extensive background that I have in business and my organizational skills. And finally, my desire to maintain the distinct character of Naples and at the same time competently manage growth. So why do I think I'm qualified to be on City Council? I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I have a bachelor's degree in mathematics from the University of Buffalo, and I went on to get a master's in healthcare administration from George Washington University. And I had a 30-year career in the healthcare field, culminating with being Vice President Regions for a statewide Connecticut HMO. We moved to Naples and retired 11 years ago, and I was recruited to join the board of the Park Shore Association, a 1,500 family neighborhood association, where first for 3 years I was membership director, and then for 3 years I was its president. And during the 3 years that I was president, we worked very closely with City Council to enhance the Park Shore neighborhood with mahogany trees down Creighton Road, and more recently, a project that really affected all of Naples, which is the new metal decorative street signs. I'm currently on the Naples Planning Advisory Board. My husband, Art, and I have been married for 46 years. We have 2 grown sons, and together with Art, they are my biggest fans. Thank you.
Thank you. And before we go any further, I neglected to introduce a very important person taking part in this program tonight, and she contributes mightily to all these forums. From the League of Women Voters, our timekeeper, ladies and gentlemen, Joyce Fletcher. And one other thing, I neglected to ask the candidates in advance if we can't get to all the audience questions on the index card, are you willing to stay after school and talk with audience members individually on their questions? Okay, thank you very much. Without further ado, question number 1, and Terry, you go first on this one. And again, you have 1 minute. It's going to be a challenge on some of these, but here we go. Do you favor a community-wide fire district EMS consolidation that would include the city?
You know, when you look at this, I'm conservative by nature. Started in supporting and getting involved in civic activities back when Ronald Reagan was running for president. But when it comes to issues like this, I try to look at what's practical. And so we're talking about the safety of our citizens and the people in the community. And we have to take that very seriously. That's one of my priorities, is safety. So the answer to this is I favor doing the right thing in making sure that whatever we have to do to ensure that that service, if it's an EMS or ambulance, we make sure that we support a program that gets the service to that person in need the fastest.
Thank you. Michelle McLeod.
The way I look at it, there are about 5 different issues that we need to focus in on with regards to fire. Should our firefighters service the airport? Should firefighters perform paramedic services? Should the city try to achieve its own COPCN license? Should we work in tandem with North Collier? Should we look at, instead of fire and medical, should we put it all together as public safety? There's so many issues that pertain to fire, so many moving parts that I think it takes collaboration and a little bit of all of that in order for us to make sure that we're providing the best services for our residents.
I think in the present atmosphere, if you've been watching the papers with the problems that Collier County's been having and difficulties there with their own crews with North Naples, I think at the present time it would be irresponsible to combine the programs. I would be in favor, however, of a 911 co-location so that we have one central dispatch. I would also be in favor of the closest available unit dispatch as a combination of the programs. What that would mean is the closest available fire truck or ambulance could come to your house as opposed to waiting for a city unit. One of the things we do before we should have any talk about combination, though, is we need to settle the issues, the vote of no confidence. And I think the city really needs to look at that and address that once and for all. You shouldn't be looking to consolidate programs until you have your own house in order, until the county has their house in order.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips.
In terms of community-wide service, including the county, from my understanding, there is training is different from one area to another. Money is involved with service. So if we're in Naples and serve someone in the county, who is going to pay for what? I personally would poll the citizens to see what they think. My last understanding is that I believe the city prefers to serve Naples City. Personally, if I'm having a heart attack, I don't care who shows up, just show up.
Thank you. Ms. Siegel.
I too could spend a lot of time talking about this issue, and I've actually studied it at length. I believe first and foremost that the citizens of Naples deserve and expect extraordinarily high level of services, and that would be foremost in my mind. But the second thing I think about is that I hate inefficiency. And so therefore, I would be in favor of greater consolidation of emergency services. I also, well, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Buxton.
As two-year chair of the Public Service Administration, I can tell you that there are great efficiencies to be made in consolidation. That doesn't mean that you put the departments together. Even in administrative areas, you can make that. I believe that it's something that we seriously need to look into. We also need to look into the CAD system, which is computer-assisted dispatch, which the sheriff has and the county people will have shortly. I know Mr. Moss has been instructed to look into the CAD system. The CAD
30 seconds.
The CAD system allows all vehicles to know exactly what's going on. Everybody knows what's happened with the patient before they get there, anybody else that comes. And that's a great attribute that the city will eventually, within the next 6 to 9 months, be involved with. But consolidation certainly is something we need to look at.
Thank you. Next question. Michelle McLeod will go first. Question. What are your feelings on beach parking stickers for county residents? Should county residents pay for the stickers?
Okay, so I was just on the Community Services Advisory Board annual tour, and we talked about that on the bus ride. We didn't talk about it, we just made note that, yes, city residents and county residents don't have to pay for their beach parking. Anybody outside of Collier County does, and I believe the fee is $80. As it stands right now, I think that it is a measure that shows that we are in cooperation with allowing county residents to enjoy our beaches. I don't think we should set a separate rate for them. So I am not for that. I am for just one rate for both city residents and county residents, because we also have an interlocal agreement that allows us to partner together like this.
It's reciprocal,
So
right?
yes, it's all in keeping.
Okay. Mr. Moon?
I'm not in favor of charging the county residents for city beaches. Ultimately, we need to find a way to consolidate or get the city and the county people back together. We have to stop this us versus them mentality. We ultimately are residents of Collier County, and we should be looking at ourselves as a kind of a sense of pride or a center of pride for the county, not looking to ostracize them further. And I think there's other ways that they could make up this income through perhaps a raising of the bed tax or tourist tax, but to simply charge someone for something that they're indirectly already paying for through their taxes, I think that's irresponsible, and I think it sends a bad sign to them to tell them, you're not one of us, so therefore you need to pay more.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips?
Beach parking stickers. To my knowledge, persons that are residents of Naples pay a higher fee through their taxes for the maintenances of everything that's involved with the beach and the parking. Like Cambria Park, where I play tennis, sometimes as a tennis captain, which I'm proud of, there are two different price structures. One for the citizens of Naples, who I believe pay for the facilities through their taxes, and another fee for persons from the county. Therefore, I would think that it's only fair that persons from the county pay more for the use of our facilities than the citizens of Naples City.
Thank you. Ellen Siegel?
Thank you. I currently would be opposed to charging county residents for parking stickers. I think you have to recognize that when you look at the beach availability for Collier County, that most of the beach access really is in the city of Naples. And the ability for county residents to get to the beach really necessitates them using city beaches. But I think that this question raises the larger question of how well Naples as a city is compensated by the county for the services that we offer county residents. And that certainly then speaks to the need to have better communication with the county moving forward.
Thank you. Reg Buxton?
Naples will always be the signature city in this county. Let us never forget that. I believe that the county and us, we need to work closer together. This would be a decisive move to do that, and I don't think we should do that. It's very important that we look at what the city of Naples pays. Should I dance? What the city of Naples pays into the county, and we need to get more from the county for that, but not by charging them for parking. I'm sorry. Yes.
Terry Hutchison?
Yeah, I'd leave it to government to talk about coming up with 2 stickers. No, we don't need 2 stickers. And then we don't need to layer on additional people to check 2 stickers and add more fees to a system. That's my feeling. How many of you ever gone to an airport and you go into some of the shops and you find out they charge higher prices simply because you're at the airport? I don't know about you, but I don't like that. I think in a broader scope, we need to cooperate with the county, build a relationship, and I'm just frankly kind of surprised this is even a topic of conversation.
Thank you. Now, talking about the airport, the next question deals with the Naples Municipal Airport, and James Moon will go first. Question: should the airport be operated like a business that must continue to grow or die, or should it be a municipal public utility with the mission to meet the essential needs of the local community? Which and why?
I think the airport should continue to operate exactly the way it is. It's proven that it can serve the needs of our area. It's proven that we can land planes, we can take off planes, and I think, and I know at some point people will cite to a study that they say they want it to grow and have commercial flights coming in and out, but those statistics are skewed. The statistics in that study didn't include simply city residents. So I, for one, would like to see it stay the way it is, a smaller municipal airport that serves the needs of the city. And if the county wants their own airport, they can go build it out there and have a great big airport or whatever they're looking to have. But for the time being, I think it serves us well. It's done a great job. It's been a good neighbor to us all.
Thank you. Wynn Phillips.
I think that's a complicated question.
It's a good
An
one.
airport being a utility. I think it should be continued to operate as it is, as a business. I'm in favor of it being a smaller municipal airport. I'm not in favor of commercial flights. If there's anything I'm for is reducing congestion. The more and more people that come here during season simply jam up the city, and I can't get off 9th Avenue to get to, say, 3rd Avenue, to get some thing from CVS. So I would say operate like a business, seems to be doing all right. I wouldn't go commercial.
Ellen Seager.
I too agree that the airport should continue to be run as a business, and in fact, it's currently being run as a superb business. And I think it has the reputation of being the best little airport in the United States, and I think it deserves that reputation. In terms of commercial service, I want to start by saying that I would be adamantly opposed to any reevaluation of the 75,000-pound weight limit on planes. I would never approve any extension of that, but I would be supportive of limited commercial service. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Buxton.
I think the airport's a real gem. It's a wonderful has a wonderful economic impact on the city with the private planes. This weekend you drive by, there'll be 200 private jets parked out there. They all brought money to town. All those people are going to spend money with our merchants. They're going to all fuel up before they leave. They're all going to pay landing fees. That's a wonderful thing. I'm against commercial air traffic. I think we should run it as a business that it is. And I don't think we should change the limitations on it.
Thank you. Terry Hutchison.
So we've got 55 years left on a lease that was signed in 1969. We shouldn't change the deal. I don't know anybody here that likes the deal being changed on you. So we need to honor the deal. We've got families out at the airport and around the airport that have made personal investments. Jobs are at stake. The livelihood of families are at stake. So when we weigh decisions like this, we've got to be very careful, take a look at it, and do the right thing. The airport has been very successful in what they've done. In fact, they've run this so successfully as compared to the city, when the city had it at one time and it was losing money. So that's all available out there for you to research. And the airport has worked in our best interest. They've convinced the FAA to make changes in the best interest of the community, specifically around that 75,000-pound limit. These folks are doing a good job. Let's let them keep doing it.
Michelle.
Yes, before the 99-year lease was, or contract was signed, the airport was losing money. I think it was about $200,000 a year. Now, under the management of the authority, the economic impact to the city is like $300 million. So I think that they're doing a very good job at managing the airport. When it comes along the lines of, do we want commercial airline or flights at the airport, we need to figure that out, and we need to communicate that well with the executive director, because right now, the board's direction to the executive director is to find commercial flights, and that is what he's doing. Now, if we don't want that, we need to communicate that well to the executive director.
Okay, thank you. Before we go to the next question, I want to thank and congratulate you on sticking to these very challenging time parameters, and your questions are covering a lot of ground in a short time, so thank you very much, and please keep it up. Wynn Phillips, you go first on the next question. And again, all these questions so far are from the audience. I understand that some past city action has made it possible for overdevelopment all the way out to the sidewalks and through, and it would eliminate some of the outdoor tables on the sidewalk on parts of Fifth Avenue South. Do you have a strategy to subject any such development to fresh city council review and fresh approval? This audience member is concerned about overdevelopment.
I too am concerned about overdevelopment. Once again, my big issue is congestion. It starts with zoning. It's zoned, you can build up to the sidewalk, and you can build 49 feet, 42 with the 7-foot exception voted by city council. The fact of the matter is, though, you could have a place like Cafe Luna, and you could have a setback, and you can have tables going up to the sidewalk. So it doesn't mean that everybody has to build up to the sidewalk. I have section 14.1 from Article 14, Planning and Zoning. It talks about all commercial zoning districts in the city of Naples. It goes from C2A water commercial to downtown, and it outlines there's a limit of 3 floors above the water table. It's water ceiling. That's the law. I don't know how you change it. I guess city council has to do something about that.
Thank you. Ellen Siegel.
In the 1990s, the condition of Fifth Avenue South was very dire. There probably was a vacancy rate of about 40%. The property owners, at their own expense, brought in a renowned designer by the name of Duani, and his recommendation laid out a framework for many of the zoning arrangements that we have to this day. So just to explain, the Duani plan that is part of our code requires buildings on Fifth Avenue South to actually build to the property line. And that's why occasionally it may look like there's not enough sidewalk space. But that is the current city code, and the question is whether the Duani plan needs to be looked at in the future.
Thank you.
I serve on the PAB Property Advisory Board. Dewani was a fairly brilliant gentleman, came in and put this together. And his plan revitalized Fifth Avenue. Fifth Avenue was boarded up, plywood and everything before he came here. I believe that the way it is now, with the residential on the second floor and businesses on the first floor and to the lot line, that is in the best interest. If it needs to be changed, then we need to change the charter. And that's something for the people to tell the commissioner or the council people, and the council people go from there.
Okay. So 3 priorities I had that I didn't have a chance to tell you about in the opening. 1 was safety. Number 2, be a conservative steward of our financial resources. Number 3, protect the elements of our code which provide for our the unique characteristics that makes Naples what it is. It's why we love it. So in this particular question, folks, my direction would be one that doesn't compromise on what we've built. If we start compromising ourselves right out of the uniqueness that we have. So let's be careful with that.
So this is not a simple answer. Right now, the city has the city charter, the comprehensive plan, and the land development code that act as a blueprint for us as we move forward with development and our plans for growth. Now, that plan, the comprehensive plan, was rewritten in 2007, but it was kind of loosely written. So if we believe that the plan is not meeting the needs of the vision that we have for Naples, we need to look at rewriting that, because it's been a while now, since 2007. I think that what's happening now is that we're approving site plan deviations and conditional uses without restrictions, which are getting us to a point where there are things that are happening that that don't meet the vision of Naples. So I think if we can just come up with
Time,
a plan
please.
that we can live with, then that's what we should do.
Thank you. James.
I am strongly opposed to overdevelopment. I do favor, to some degree, redevelopment. I had the pleasure of meeting with Mr. McCabe about his development projects down there. I will give him kudos. He did build some beautiful buildings, but at the end of that meeting, we had some mutual respect where I walked away saying that the charter, the zoning, and quite frankly, the Dewaney plan are out of date. I congratulated him on what he was building, but I'm not in favor of that. The plan, that Dewaney plan was come up 25 years ago, and I had a choice when I moved here about 20 years ago. I could live in South Beach or I could live in Naples. I chose Naples, and I want to keep Naples the way it looks. It's going to be overdeveloped, it's going to be overgrown downtown, and we can't have that. We have to update the charter, we have to update our zoning and land use, we have to update the Dewaney plan.
Thank you. Next question, Ellen Siegel will go first. Question, are you in favor of, and would you work to restore, the idle speed, no wake boat speed restrictions throughout Moorings Bay, which were recently removed?
I would love to if I could, but unfortunately, this is a situation that arose as a result of the city of Naples losing a lawsuit that was filed by fishing boat captains who opposed the speed limits in Naples Bay. And when the judge ruled against the city of Naples, the ruling extended to Moorings Bay as well. The city council is spending a lot of time trying to figure out alternative ways of enforcing speed limits. One way will be to have Moorings Bay declared a manatee zone. The other option is going to be to legally enforce speed limits near bridges. And I think that is the direction that City Council is going to go. But unfortunately, this is a very political issue, and we need friends in Tallahassee to help us solve this problem.
Rich Buxton.
First thing that should have happened is they should not have coupled Moorings Bay with Naples Bay when they did the lawsuit. That tied up two areas. It is a long process. We're dealing with the federal government here and different federal agencies. We're not going to just say we want it changed, it's going to change. It's going to take a long time to change it. Can it be changed? Yes, but it's going to take a long time to weed its way through. We're talking a year or more. We're going to be talking about putting up signs now, warning you're responsible for your wake or for any damage from it. That's no good. If we could get it declared a manatee zone, obviously that changes the whole ballpark.
Yes, slowing down water traffic is the right thing to do. So there may be obstacles. All of us here on this dais have, and all of you, we've faced obstacles in our life. We're the city of Naples. We've got influential people living here and people with the right connections. If we have the will to make it happen, we can make it happen. It can happen. It should happen. And it should just take a consensus of the city council and people working together to make it happen.
So,
I own a slip on Moorings Bay, and I have boated in there for many years. And I have seen a concern. There is a concern with the speed now in Moorings Bay as a result of not being able to control the idle speeds. I've talked to, I have friends who live on the bay in condos. I have talked to residents who own homes on the bay, and they too are concerned. They're seeing the dangers that lie out there with paddle boarders and people who are canoeing and what have you. So people in the community are really working diligently to try to get the idle speeds back into play. I commend them, and I would encourage that we continue to focus in on that.
I think the first question the residents need to ask themselves is why did we lose it? Who was responsible for the loss of those wake zones, and why is that person or individual still employed by the city of Naples? My understanding is they failed to file some papers timely, which resulted in a lawsuit which caused us to lose the wake zones in there. So that's the first question I would ask is why did that happen? After that, I would support wake zones. I think the difficulty for us is it has to be done in conjunction with the state, and as we know, the state tends to drag its feet on some things. But I think when we look for those wake zones, I do believe we need some input from some of the commercial folks, our fishermen and that, and to try to find a middle ground that will work for everyone. We need to make sure we protect the people using the moorings, bay, and we also need to make sure we're protecting the folks that live there from the wakes as well and the damage that it can cause. But I think we do need some consideration for the fishermen and that use it. But we need to obviously do whatever we can to protect that and also clean it up.
I'll speak, yes. If only we could. What happened with our lawsuit, as I understand it, we lost, and the new law was made more stringent, and it's called the Naples Law. So we're kind of famous for that. I attended the President's Council meeting recently, and it seemed to be the consensus that a manatee zone is a great idea, but the state is going to see right through that. They won't buy it, according to the consensus. To change or get something changed for the auto speed, we have to either prove that it's dangerous, and there haven't been enough accidents, I mean, thank God, or let's take a video and present the bends and curves and all the problems. To change it, you really need a committee that's made up of half of environmentalists and half of boaters, because Florida is really oriented towards boaters. And after that committee meets, then they have to present it to, I'll leave you hanging on that one.
Time, sir. Let me ask you, let's stick with another water-related question, and this time Mr. Buxton goes first. This question, I'm going to paraphrase it. Please explain what your position is on the current issues with Clam Pass, and as it relates to water quality and boating rights in the Seagate area.
Short answer, you fix it. Obviously, what they're doing is not correct. We need to watch the water flow. We need to get and keep it open and keep it navigable, which we have not had not been able to do. We need to sit down and do some more research on that so that it gets done correctly.
Terry.
Well, I believe this came up during the mayoral debate. There was some talk about this exact issue. And there's been quite a bit of research that's been done. Some experts have weighed in and looking at where the water goes, et cetera. So again, this we've got to do the right thing for the environment, do the right thing for Naples. It's going to take, I'm not sure to the extent of how many parties have to be involved in that other than the city of Naples. I don't think it's as easy as the city of Naples. But again, this is going to require voters, put people on the council that will work with each other and make a decision and make something happen that's the right thing to do. And that's what needs to happen.
From what I understand, we're trying to get a permit right now from the Corps of Engineers to allow us to dredge in there. I guess the bone of contention between the Pelican Bay residents and the Seagate residents is how much sand do we take out? How can we make that waterway navigable with boats? And my position is, I think we need to take out as much sand as it's going to take in order for this not to happen again in the future, because this keeps happening and happening. And also, I think we need to keep in mind the health of that estuary in there. We need to do what we can to make sure that it's healthy. So I would, I look forward to seeing that permit happening and then moving forward and trying to make that a good, healthy estuary.
It needs to be dredged. It needs to be dredged very soon. The difficulty it's going to have with that is because there's not much commercial traffic there, is where does the money come from? And the dredging projects in Naples keep getting pushed back farther and farther. So until council comes up with a plan in conjunction with the Collier commissioners that will start allotting their own money so we can be less reliant upon federal grants or state money, it's not going to happen. And this goes right into one of the other issues, which is increasing that visitor's tax so that we can be self-reliant, have the money to dredge when we want to dredge. But this time when they dredge it and they spend the money, they need to do it the right way. They need not put a Band-Aid on it like they did last time, only take out a little bit of sand. They need to get in there and do it the right way with the environmentalists' approval and fix it once and for all.
From what I understand, the issue to clear the sand and make way for boaters is both costly and continual. As far as the visitors tax, I wonder how much visitors can pay for. I know an idea is to charge visitors a bed tax to maintain our beaches. I can say that I don't spend much time in that area, and that brings up an idea of mine, and that is sometimes it seems that Naples is segmented into different areas, say Port Royal and Old Naples, and different sections. My idea would be that we should have some meetings, one neighborhood to another, so we're not islands isolated from one another. And that way we can learn more about what's the problem of other persons. For example, who would respect the airplanes flying over Old Naples? We need to see Naples as a whole and care about each other, community to community.
Thank you.
This issue is very important to me. I really care very, very much about solving this problem. I think it's been an embarrassment, frankly, that the Seagate community has been really adversely affected by the closing of that channel. And I think this is a perfect example of where the city and the county together really have an opportunity to work better to solve the problems. And I really think that it needs to be resolved.
Okay, thank you. Next question, and Terry Hutchison goes first on this one. Should additional parking be provided in the downtown area, and if so, how?
Should traditional parking?
Should
Well,
additional parking?
additional, yes. Yeah, I thought I heard traditional. I'm thinking, okay. You know, this gets back to what we enjoy and what we see. Additional parking. I'm not sure how we would accomplish that other than some large structures behind, you know, the main businesses. So, and I'm pretty sure that could probably be done, but I'm not sure it's the right thing for us. So, and if we do it, I'm not sure that we can get it done and maintain the look and feel of what we have here. So before I would vote on something like that, folks, I'd have to be really convinced that I've mirrored or reflected what the community really wanted in this area. Right now, I'm probably not a big advocate for additional parking.
Thank you.
I've met with Lise Sunderla, the executive director of BID, and with some of the other business owners of BID, and yes, there is a concern for parking, but I think that they are coming up with some solutions to help eliminate some of the parking issues. For instance, they have that valet service now that has really helped solve the concerns about parking. Also, with the parking garages now having the indications of when a parking garage is full or not, that is also helping to keep traffic and parking in the right areas. I think we need to look at some of the options regarding other parking spaces. I've made the recommendation, and I'm not quite sure, I haven't really researched this, but there's that land next to the Naples Women's Club. I know that's kind of out there, but I always see it full, so I'm thinking that that would be possibly a viable parking garage. But there are options. That's just one thought. I'm sure we can come up with others.
This is the upside of the development that's being proposed by Mr. McCabe. With the mixed-use development, you actually get back parking spaces, and I think in his study it said that by him developing what he wanted to develop, you'd get about 145 spaces in downtown back because it gets rid of the parking spaces for some of the restaurant workers and that. So that would be the positive side. But I think the way to do it is through the blue zones that there's been a lot of discussions about, and if we can get the city more walkable and pedestrian-friendly and bicycle-friendly, I think you will start to see a decrease in the car traffic, which ultimately would return to additional spaces. I just don't see an ability to build more ramps downtown, nor do I think I want to see more ramps downtown, because I think it would take away kind of from some of the ambiance of the city. So I think that would be the solution, is the blue zones, to get it accessible, walkable, pedestrian-friendly, to disperse that traffic.
Again, my favorite topic, congestion, cars, where are you going to put them? I've been thinking about McCabe's idea of underground parking. People park underground all over the city, all over the world. I would say that is one way to approach it. Put the cars underground. I also think we could have valet stations, which everybody knew about, so you could go there, maybe a parking lot outside the congested area, and have transportation back and forth. I also think it would be good if restaurant workers, personnel, service industry personnel, have somewhere else to park and transport it back and forth. Because the employees park in front of the restaurant where they work, and they don't leave until their shift is over. And I think something could be done for, some incentives could be given for persons working in the service industry, and I think they deserve it.
First of all, I think that the City Council should really be applauded for funding and constructing two large parking structures that the city now is very fortunate to have. No one can predict the future. And my hope is that increasing technology is going to solve some of our parking problems. And I'll use Uber as an example, which will reduce individuals' needs to drive themselves to every function. I also do want to applaud recent efforts to study the increased ability for underground parking. And I think that's been an important new option that has come to the fore very recently.
Thank you. Rich.
Underground parking works very well on the East Coast, and I think it's something we need to explore further here. I too meet with Lisa. I meet with her every month at the bid, keeping track of everything that's going on and trying to keep my thumb on what goes on. Mr. Dewani, who we've all spoken about here tonight, when he did the plan down there, he had visualized 4 parking garages. I believe each garage takes 350 cars. If we had one more parking garage, not 2, just 1, you take 350 cars off the main street.
Thank you. Next question, and Michelle McLeod will go first on this. What is your view of the recent vote of no confidence for the Naples fire chief by the Naples firefighters?
Okay, as far as I understand, that is a matter that is under investigation, and I would not want to make any kind of judgment calls on that without knowing the facts. So I leave it up to that.
I think it's been poorly handled by the council, and I apologize to the council members for saying that, but I think it has been. The vote of no confidence came in, and I think the investigation started in October. We're sitting here at the end of January, and we still don't know when this investigation is going to be complete. I think the chief deserves to know what's going to be said. I think the officers, or the firemen, need to know what's going to happen. They've expressed to you that they have no confidence in their leader. And at this point, because of the amount of time that's drug on, I would believe they're starting to think there's no confidence in their council either. I appreciate the fact that this is being investigated, and I would hope at this point thoroughly investigated, but it's inexcusable that it should drag on this long. We as citizens need answers, the council needs answers, and the fire department needs answers.
Thank you. Gwen Phillips.
No confidence by firefighters.
Yes.
I have some sympathy for the chief. He's sitting in his position wondering what's going to happen to him. Now, we've all, well, maybe not all, but we might have been in some jobs that were been a little tenuous. I think back to my hometown, Cleveland, and the coach, Blatt, was recently fired because supposedly he didn't have the confidence of his players. So I would think that if they, the chief doesn't have the confidence of the firefighters, maybe he should start looking for another job.
Thank you.
In the same way that Naples City Council has been advised not to speak publicly about this matter, I think it would be completely inappropriate for us as candidates to say anything about this.
Reg Buxton.
The investigative process that this is in, it's an independent investigator, and there are rules that they follow. This is out of the council's hands, how fast it's going to be, when it's going to get reported. It's in the state's hands, and that's how it gets handled. Labor problems down there, labor problems sometimes go along with union problems. I will tell you this, that the chief did apply for the North Naples chief's job, made it to the finalist, and didn't get picked. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really have no comment really on this. It's something that's, I agree with Ellen, it's really not appropriate for us to discuss it. It would be a lot of conjecture and not fair to the process. We need to let the process work. It may be slow, and there may be a reason for that. So no comment other than that.
Thank you. Next question, James Moon will go first. What is your position on the design, funding, and building of Baker Park?
I think it's great that we have the park there. I'm not a fan of the funding for it, and the reason I say that is I'm a firm believer in things being finished before we start new projects. This is a project that I think we're about $10 million short on right now. At the time when this came up, there wasn't complete funding for the Freedom Memorial, and I think there's some other pressing concerns that we all have, like traffic solutions and things of that nature before we spend $15 million on developing another park. Another issue I had is there's a park right next door that's never really received the money or attention it deserves, and that's Anthony Park, which is equally as large. I also question whether we really need a carousel, whether we need ice cream shops and that. I would like to see a park, if we have one, that's more user-friendly and more representative of our community, not something representative of when I was a child necessarily.
Okay. When,
Yes, you include design, funding, and,
building.
oh, building. Well, as far as design, I don't know what the design is. It seems like it's changing all the time. I think council is going to get around to deciding that. I think they're going in the right direction. I think they're hiring a go-to experienced person where they can ask questions whether this landfill with vegetation is going to hold up a carousel or not. City council personnel are not knowledgeable about parks to the extent they can build it. I think that the funding is fine, and I know there's a nonprofit organization that can support it. I think that it can be built, it should be built, especially on the river to connect to the Gulf.
I was president of the Park Shore Association when the city was considering acquiring the land for Baker Park, and I spoke in favor of it, even though Park Shore is probably as far away from this park as it possibly could be in the city. But I think the opportunity to acquire open space and have land for parks is essential for our city in the future. I know that it's taken City Council several years to get to where they are right now, but I think they're at a good place right now, and actually next month, I'm looking forward to seeing some lovely plans come. One of the important things that they did recognize is that because it's a landfill, it will be more costly to construct permanent structures, but now we know that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Baker Park. A wonderful thing. You can go from the Greenway all the way across through the park, all the way down under 41 and get to the water. The problem is this thing got really political. The city at one time, as we all know, owned that land. Then they lost it, and then they bought it back. Over $7 million, I believe, close to $7 million has been raised by the Baker Park Foundation Association. It's a great idea. Somewhere between Six Flags Naples and a big bunch of green grass is where it's going to end up, and the public will have input in that, and that's what we'll do with it.
Thank you.
I'm in favor of the park. Looking at the park situation from the outside looking in, it looks like it was mismanaged to some extent. If any of us tried to build a house, or a developer in town started on a project and didn't have these things figured out before they started, it would be a mess. So I'm interested in the details. Sometimes when you start looking into things like this and you get into the root cause about what happened, you learn some things. I don't think we need to go backwards. We probably need to go forwards, get this thing done, make it happen. But it was mismanaged.
This The idea of purchasing this 6.7 acre parcel of land came before the Community Services Advisory Board back in June of 2013, and we unanimously voted to move forward with this because we believed in the benefits of acquiring green space for our city. We vetted the elements that we wanted for the park. We then presented those to City Council. Unfortunately, from there, it kind of ran away with itself, which was unfortunate because I think Matt Craig did an excellent job in planning and providing all of his services for pro bono. So that was the unfortunate thing, but thankfully, I believe council is now trying to come up with a unified vision so that we can move forward with this project. But that's the lesson learned, that before pushing forward on a project, we need to have a unified vision so that we have buy-in from everybody and everybody feels good about it.
Thank you.
I was the first one to answer, sir. But I can
Of course you were.
respond
That
if
was
you'd like.
That was a test. Mr. Phillips, you go first, and or maybe Mr. Moon would like to go first again. This question is from the Libertarian Party of Collier County. Should the laws be changed to do away with property tax exemptions for nonprofits and churches? Should the laws be changed to do away with property tax exemptions for nonprofits and church properties? Mr. Phillips. Wayne Phillips?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it.
Oh, yeah. I think that was the idea.
Yeah. Should is almost a value statement. I think they could be. I don't know the ins and outs of it. I think some nonprofits and some churches or religious institutions take advantage of their status. It's almost like the welfare system. Some people cheat, some people don't. So I think it should be looked at a case-by-case basis. I understand libertarians would probably want to get rid of all of them. I want to stop now. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think the issue is different for nonprofits from churches. I mean, I think that churches don't pay any property tax, but if a nonprofit is occupying a building that is a commercial building, that commercial building is paying a property tax. But I would say, in answer to the question, I would be opposed to that.
Thank you.
Opposed, just simply opposed to it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So for me, nonprofits and churches are a couple of entities that provide a great value to our community. It just, I already told you that I was a preacher's son and I married a preacher's daughter, so I may be a little bit biased here. But folks, these are fine citizens in our community. Again, we're talking about changing a deal, right? We're talking about changing a deal for a couple of organizations. I think for the libertarian supporters out there, I think there's probably some other low-hanging fruit that we can go after in getting money back to our citizens and getting some worthless ordinances off the books and make some headway toward your goals in that way. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, nonprofits, their objectives are different than business objectives. Businesses are there to make a profit. Nonprofits, it's not always the case. And I've worked for nonprofits, and the salary levels, the spending levels, it's just not the same as in business. So to try to get them to pay more than what they're already doing, trying to manage the budgets that they have, I would be opposed to that.
I think it creates a slippery slope that some people might not want to go down, because the next question would be, would the elderly folks want to lose any additional homestead tax benefits? Would deaf people and blind people want to lose extra exemptions when they pay their taxes under 1040? So the way I view this is the people who utilize these services are already paying taxes. Members of the church are paying taxes, they're paying sales tax, they're paying real estate taxes. yes, the entity they're in isn't necessarily paying taxes, but I think we recoup that from the people who utilize the services. So at some point, we have to recognize the good these things are doing versus the ultimate collection of a few $1,000s.
Thank you. Reg Buxton's concise answer, almost one word, to that last one leads me to this next set of questions. We call it the lightning round. We're going to ask a series of 5 questions. Yes, we're going to ask for either yes or no answers. So,
No, maybe.
no, maybe. So, I'm going to start with Ellen Siegel. And just to keep it simple, let's start with you on each one of these 5 questions so we aren't moving around and making everybody totally crazy. Okay. First up, yes or no? Is upgrading the city dock a priority?
Absolutely. So I didn't follow your instructions. Yeah, yes.
Absolutely. Yes.
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 Possibly.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Question number 2. Should downtown Naples remain a tourist destination?
Yes.
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 Question 3. Is the job of mayor a full-time job?
Voted.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and it should be paid as such.
Yes.
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 Thank you. Question number 4. If the Florida legislature passes an open carry law for Florida, would you try to ban it in Naples?
Yes.
Absolutely, yes.
No.
No.
Yes.
No, I would defer to the legislature.
Thank you. Last one. Should the tourist tax be increased?
I would like to look at that a little bit more. But my inclination for the time being would be to say no.
Yes.
No.
No.
Yes, with a proviso.
No.
Thank you for being good sports with those. The reasons.
Yes.
Next question, and this, Reg Buxton will get this one
Yes,
first.
sir.
What city board or committee is the most important today and why?
From the items that have been brought up tonight about developing everything, I would say the PAB, Building Advisory Board. Property Advisory Board, let me rephrase that.
Given the direction we're going, I would agree with that.
The PAB.
Yes.
I believe all of them are important. They all serve a purpose. PAB with development, community services with parks and recreation and special events, code enforcement, design review, all of them are essential. And what I would support is better utilization of our advisory boards by the council.
Thank you.
I have to agree with Ms. McLeod. They're all important. They all serve a very unique purpose, and I'll add to hers even the Pension and Benefits Board, which, as we know, requires some funding. That can hurt us just as much as a bad planning advisory board decision can hurt us. So we need to support them all, treat them all equal here.
I think the question was which one? And my answer to that goes along with my conversations with persons sitting on city council, and I believe the PAB is the most important.
I recently had a conversation with a very respected senior citizen of our city. Everyone would highly regard him. And he basically said to me that if you're fortunate to serve on city council, you're basically making land use decisions. And so therefore, I would have to say the Planning Advisory Board is the most important board.
Thank you. The next question is really the second part of the same question. It's pretty good. And Terry Hutchinson, you'll go first. So following the question about what city board or committee is the most important and why, part number two, what do you feel the role of the city council is?
Well, the city council members are elected to their positions. So they're installed by vote, and they should reflect the will of the community, yet weighing that with their own personal convictions to an extent. So that's where I fall on that. You really, if this is going to work, we need to be acting on behalf of the community.
The role of city council.
They are public servants. They are here to meet the needs of the community. That's listening, uncovering the needs, and making sure that the decisions that they're making are benefiting the community.
I view the city council as a safekeeper of the city. It's the voice of the voters. It's the voice of the people. And I think it's to ensure that you, the taxpayers, get a fair return on your tax investment, because you're entrusting us with your tax dollars to give you the best city possible. And I think our last role is, when we serve on the council, is to take what we were given, and in 4 years when we give it back, is to make sure we gave it back to you and the other voters better than when it was entrusted to us.
I believe the role of city council is to represent the city's best interest. That is the citizens' best interest. And I think that this goes along with input from the staff, the city manager. They research issues and present the information before city council, and then city council can talk to members of the community. My idea, again, it goes back to what I consider fundamental fairness. You have to weigh both sides, put your own interest aside, think what's best for the community, and vote and make decisions in the best interests of our beloved city, Naples.
This unfortunately was going to be my closing remarks, so I'll have to think about something else to say at the end. But I firmly believe that the role of Naples City Council is to assure that the extraordinarily high level of services that citizens of Naples deserve and receive is provided in the most efficient and effective way. And I think that is the responsibility of City Council.
Thank you.
They're elected public servants. They hold the well-being of both the city and its residents in their hands, and they need to treat it with great respect and make it better any chance that they can.
Thank you. Our last question before we go to final or closing arguments or closing statements, if you will, goes to you, and actually it mentions you by name. It says, as a Gulf swimmer, how concerned are you about the health of the Gulf, and is removing the outfall pipes a priority for you?
Okay. Yes, I'm concerned about the water quality issues in the Gulf of Mexico, specifically stormwater runoff. That is a concern for the city, and the city has conducted a study, and they came up with 10 alternatives to help with the stormwater runoff. Because right now, if you go to the beach, especially on rainy days, you'll see like a brown, murky substance coming out, and that's the weeds that go into the pipes and the bacteria that they create. So I would, there's 10 alternatives, one of which costs $10 million to shoot the waste far out into the Gulf of Mexico. I would not be in favor of that. I would look at some of the other alternatives.
Most certainly, we have to look at the Gulf water, and then along with that, Naples Bay, and we need to figure out a way to protect them both. I think part of it is through additional retaining ponds, and we need to do something besides get pipes to shoot something out a little bit further, so it takes an extra day or two to get back to our beaches. And I think one of the ways to do that is through the increase, and this is when I said possibly about a increase in the tourist tax. The proviso I would want with that is that a portion of any increase would go directly to environmental concerns, dredgings, bay cleanup, and storage of the water, stormwater, diversion of stormwater, things like that. As Mayor Sori said on Monday night, I think we're pumping in about 160 million gallons a day too much into Naples Bay. So that ultimately goes into the Gulf. So it's a big picture that we have to change more than just the pipes.
Thank you.
I agree, it's a big picture. I think all our waterways are at risk. I attended a President's Council meeting when Roger presented the facts that there was a vacuuming company that was dumping waste into our systems. He tested it and it was full of arsenic. Everything that goes into our drainage system can go into our bay, our bays, our waterways, our Gulf. It just has to be stopped. I know it costs a lot of money, but I think it's worth it. Eventually, the environment will deteriorate, and the environment, the trees, the beaches are what defines Naples. It needs to be taken care of, whatever cost it is.
When I'm asked what are my priorities for serving on city council, there's no question in my mind that my overriding priority is to protect and safeguard those things that make Naples so special. And when you start enumerating what those things are, everybody is going to start with the Gulf. That is the reason probably why many of us are here today. And I'm actually not aware yet that City Council has started to look at the various options for the stormwater runoff. I recall very clearly that it was Councilman Linda Penniman who thought that Naples could do something different. And I'm going to look forward to hearing what city staff is proposing.
Thank you.
Part of my platform is protection. We need to protect the Naples Beach and the Naples brand. The runoff north of Moorings Line goes into the bay, south of Moorings Line goes into the Gulf. Right now, we have 10 outfalls. That's bad for the beach. It's bad for the turtles. There is a plan where we cut down to 2 outfalls. They would be buried under the beaches. They would be buried under the ocean floor. They would go out 1,000 feet, and everything would go there. And when I talked to city engineering the other day, the price tag for that was $8 million. Probably great money spent.
Similar to Ms. Siegel down here, my 3 priorities were safety of our citizens, good stewards of our financial resources. This is going to fall into that area as well. And then protecting the uniqueness and the attributes that make Naples what it really is. So this issue touches in several different areas here. First of all, folks, I can't believe that we're probably the first ones in the United States, the first city for this type of problem. So hopefully, our council and the others involved have gone out and identified best practices first, okay, so that we can eliminate some conjecture and not reinvent the wheel. After that, there's a lot of things we want to do, and it's just like you have to do in your personal budget. You have to prioritize things, figure out how much it's going to cost, and see how important and what the will of the people are in getting it done. So that's how I would approach it.
Thank you. Before we go back to the League of Women Voters for the final remarks of the evening, we get the final statement. For you folks, we promised you up to a minute, and we promised to start with the other end of the dais with Ellen Siegel. Your closing statement, please.
Thank you. I'm very proud of my track record of accomplishments and my 30-year history of working extremely well with people and always enjoying what I do. And so I'm looking forward to that opportunity on Naples City Council. As I said before, when you elect the people to represent you, you are choosing those people who are going to assure that the high quality of services that we receive, such as 2-time-a-week garbage collection, is provided. Your vote really matters, and I hope you'll vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips.
I believe my training and personal background will make a significant contribution to the health and welfare of our beloved city. I want to give back to you and to Naples using my leadership skills, statistical and analytical skills, and my understanding of our legal ordinances and codes. As a psychologist, I've learned from listening to you that we want smart, sustainable growth here in Naples through a consensus of us all, including council members, city staff, and above all, through you. The council and staff represent you. As a psychologist, you can rely on me to listen to you and understand your concern. As a law graduate, I understand our ordinances and regulations. My mathematical analytical skills can help understand our studies to ensure smart, sustainable growth for our beloved Naples. I ask for your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you listen to the introductions of all the candidates, when we gave our introductions, I think you'll find that none of them here have the number of years that I and my family have in the city of Naples, not just in Collier County, but in the city of Naples, and none of them will have byproducts of the Naples schools, the city of Naples schools. So I have a very long history here and a vested interest in keeping the lifestyle that we all enjoy and what drew us here. With that said, I'm going to ask that each of you do something, and that's to entrust me with your city, entrust me with making it a better place, and allowing me to serve you. I love the city. I know all of us up here are trying to do what's best for the city, but I'm asking that you allow me to use the vision that I have for it to maintain the small town feel and to move it forward in such a manner as the same as what drew us here. And with that, I'd ask you for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have planned for this moment for a very long time now. Running for the office of Naples City Council is not a last-minute decision for me. In fact, on my leadership Collier application I submitted several years ago, when asked to describe an important ambition in my life and what I hope to accomplish and achieve, I enthusiastically described my desires to run and to be on City Council. With so much vested here in this community, I have a strong desire to be a part of the decisions that will affect the city of Naples as it moves into the future. I would be honored to serve as one of your next City Council member.
Well, first of all, thank you again for this opportunity. Thanks for the people attending, taking the time out of your day to be here. Thanks for those that are watching. I am Terry Hutchison. To those of you that will vote in this election, you'll have 6 choices on the ballot. You'll be able to choose 3. I'm asking you to pick your 2 favorite candidates and cast that 3rd vote for me. Okay? That will be a vote for a candidate. That'll be a vote for a candidate that really connects with every aspect of our community virtually every day. Cast a vote that provides better representation for others. You won't see my street signs. I'm not accepting money from anyone, and I won't have any favors owed. Please support me by grabbing the blue ribbon at the back of the room or at one of my stores. Tie it on your antenna, your car mirror, tie it on the outside of your home. Be part of my Blue Ribbon Committee. I'm Terry Hutchison, and I really do want your vote.
Thank you. Mr. Buxton.
Reg Buxton, a few things that I left out. I, too, was endorsed by the Republican Club of Collier County, and I, too, got more votes than anybody else that was endorsed. I'm a member of graduate of Leadership Collier, graduate of Leadership Institute, and also a graduate of Greater Naples Leadership. There is no leadership program in this town that I've not been involved with and graduated with dignity and very happy about it. The skills that I have are leadership, and again, I'm going to reiterate the ability to take people who don't see the same thing and get them to get together and move on down the road. I listen to people, I learn, and I lead. My name's Reg Buxton. I'd like your vote. Please go to www.electregbuxton.com. There's some really great information there. My mom told me that.
I'd like to thank you all for offering to serve. I'd like to thank you all for your cooperation and thoughtfulness in your answers tonight. It's been a pleasure working with you. And for the final word tonight, we go back to the president of the League of Women Voters of Collier County, Charlotte Nickelmo. Sir.
Thank you, Jeff. So, in closing, We want to address you, the voters. The election on March 15th is both the presidential preference primary and this election for the city of Naples. Remember, there are 3 opportunities to vote. You may vote at your assigned poll on Election Day. You may vote in early voting polling places, which will be open from March 5th through March 12th. Or you may vote by mail-in ballot, and you should go to www.colliervotes.com. That's colliervotes.com. Or call the Supervisor of Elections at 239-252-8683 to request a mail-in ballot if you have not done so already. Representatives, Heather is in the back of the room. She's from the Supervisor of Elections office, and she is here to answer any questions you may have about the elections or about registration. To vote in the Naples City Council and mayor elections, you must be a City of Naples registered voter. These are nonpartisan races for 4 years. To vote in the presidential preference primary, you must be registered as a Republican or a Democrat, since Florida is a closed primary state. You have until February 16th to make any changes to your registration for this election. Please review your registration for any updates you may need, such as change of address, changes in your signature, or political party. This forum will be rebroadcast on Channel 98, the City Government Access Channel, and available on the City Video Archive. No part of this video may be used for any promotional purposes. The League of Women Voters also will post this forum on our website. In addition, the candidates have completed profiles which will soon be on our website, www.lwvcolliercounty.com. Please do vote in these elections. So we want to thank Bill Moss, City Manager, City staff, for the use of this facility, and David Freilich for assistance with broadcast of this forum. We thank you very much for coming out and watching tonight. And of course, a big, big thank you to our candidates. And we wish you well. Travel safely tonight. Good night.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down a road and back again. Your heart is true, you're a pal and a confidant. I'm not ashamed